Hi, David Wright here, and welcome to another one of my podcast shows. Today I'm going to be talking about permissions for swimming pools here in Spain, my experiences, the problems I've come across, and the possible solutions that you can have. Okay. So first of all, I've bought and sold many properties here. I've renovated for other people as well as myself, including building my own house here and renovating many properties that I have bought and been involved with here over my last 21 years. So I've got a couple of friends at the planning office here at the local councils, and I do know a little bit about planning permission and things like that. So swimming pools are always a major headache here in Spain. When I first started here in Spain, I worked for a guy that bought and sold properties here, and we bought a couple of properties with him to do up, and a couple of them did have swimming pools there, but they didn't have permission to build the pool. Now this is an oversight. It gets passed sometimes when you go to buy and sell the property. Normally it should be picked up on the deeds of the property that you haven't got permission there, and the notary will point this out, and it could be a problem later on down the line. So first of all, if you haven't picked this problem up before you've bought and sold, then that really picking it out beforehand is the solution here, or walk away from the property, because it can be a real headache. So on one occasion we bought this property, well, my boss bought it at the time and we were doing it up, and he was talking about getting the pool, licensed and everything. Went to the local council. They said you need to go to the planning office with an architect. We went there to find out what was the score first of all. And the planning officer said that in that particular area there wasn't permission because there wasn't a big enough garden to build a swimming pool, and it was going to be too close to the neighbours' fences, the boundaries, so we couldn't have one. We told him that there was already one there and we need to get it registered, and he said that's almost impossible because the council wouldn't allow it in the first place. So for you to go and say we've got one there now and we need to get it registered, first of all they're going to say it shouldn't have been there in the first place, so you've upset them before you even start. If you were able to get permission, if the permissions have changed in that area since the pool has been put in, they might grant you permission. If the property wasn't too close to the neighbour's wall, normally it needs to be 2 meters away from the neighbouring wall, depending on where you are, whether it's the building regulations, whether it's in a city, it's outer rural area, or in the countryside. If it's in the countryside, you've got more chances. If it's in town somewhere, or it's in urbanisation, then there's much stricter rules. So what do you do if it's been put there? The chances are very slim that you can get permission after you've had it bought it with a legal swimming pool. The way to go around this is to go to the planning registry officer at the local town hall first and tell him up front that there's a pool there, you want to get permission, what are the rules and regulations there. He might say that the pool needs to be 1 meter or 2 meters away from the boundary wall, it needs to be 4 meters away from the main house, things like that. So then you can go to the council and say, look, we've got this pool that we're going to be building, blah blah blah, the dimensions are this and this, and they say yeah, that should be okay, but then you're going to need to submit an architect's drawings. So all you do is get your architect to go and draw up the plans of the pool that's already there, the dimensions and everything, and then submit those plans as if the pool is not there, and then hopefully you won't get an inspection. They will give you permission for that. You pay a license fee, you pay your architect's fee to build the pool, and then you have a date when the pool should be finished. Then they come out and inspect it afterwards, so you can renovate it a bit, paint it up, put some new tiles and something like that, so make it look a bit more modern, and then you might get away with it. But that is the only way really to get around it. Now if you go ahead and say the pool's already there and you want to put a pool in, they might say yeah, you can, but it's got to be 2 meters or 3 meters or even 4 meters away from the neighbouring wall, in which case if the pool that you've got was already there, it's up close to the boundary wall, then you're going to have to fill it in and dig out the other side of it to make it fit those boundary parameters. So it's always a bit of a nightmare. You need to be very, very lucky that the pool is in the right sort of place and the right sort of area to give you the chance of getting the permissions granted for that license for that pool in the first place. Now, when I bought my house here, I bought a plot of land, I built my house. We had already gone through that we wanted to have a pool. And initially, we didn't have the money to put in an in-ground pool, so we were going to put it in later on. Halfway through the build, we decided that it's easier to have the pool dug now, as we're digging all the ground out and making a mess of the plot of land, rather than wait till it's all finished. We have all artificial grass and flower beds put in, so we didn't want to rip all that up, so access was going to be difficult. So I went ahead and marked out where the pool was, so we knew the boundary walls from the architect's ideas and the planning permission. We'd already had some ideas of what we could do. Our boundary walls were, the pool needed to be 2 meters away from the wall, so I went ahead and we started building the pool. I told my architect, he said, don't worry, dig it out and build the framework of it. I'll come and do the drawings for it once the framework is done, and we can submit the plans in, because it does take quite some time to get the plans passed through the council. So anyway, we dug out the ground and I built a 9 metre by 3 metre wide pool, 9 metres long, 3 metres wide and 2 metres deep up the deep end. It does hold 50,000 litres of water, so it's a fair sized pool. And once all the concrete was done, the architect came up, measured it all up, did a drawing of the design that I'd already done. The structure was already finished. We'd only got to tile it and fill it up, basically connect the pipework. And then he submitted those plans to the local planning office. They don't come up and check initially, they come up when it's finished. And the plans were put in. I paid my architect €800 to submit the plans and pay for the licenses needed. We were granted the go-ahead for that, and we built the pool as we were building their house. And we used the pool for the first year without tiles. Because of the COVID situation, we didn't ever have an inspection, because they set an inspection date, and that if they don't come within the 6 months of that inspection date, then technically they're not allowed to come and inspect the property at all. And because of the COVID, the rules were stretched a little bit. There was a 6-month extension on the inspections that overstretched that as well. They never bothered to turn up at all, so we never did get an inspection, and now they can never come and inspect what was done. So that's their problem. We've got permission, the pool's in, it's done, and we've got all the paperwork to say it's all okay and above board. But yeah, so if ever you're going to look at a property, lots of people put in pools, that in-ground pools that are not really pools. They're badly constructed. You don't know the construction, the way it's built. They put them in, and then really a lot of the rural properties, the pools, what I call attachments for water, and they're not properly, the drainage isn't right there, the pipes aren't connected up properly. So you go ahead and you spend loads of money renovating the pool, tiling it and everything, fill it up, and a few months down the line you find it's leaking water. You spent all that money on the pool and it's got a leak somewhere, and you end up digging the ground up, digging up underneath the pool, find the paperwork, and you might just as well have filled it all in the first place and put a new pool in another position. Sometimes that can be a lot easier to do in the long run, or a lot cheaper. Or if there's a pool there already, make sure that has a proper inspection, and that include digging up the base of the pool to make sure the foundations are right, the pipework and the drainage is connected properly. It's going a couple of steps back before you go a couple of steps forward, but it could save you a lot of money and stress in the long run. So that's my experiences on pools. I'm happy to chat with anyone that wants to connect with me. You know where I am, you know how to get hold of me. I'm happy to tell you some of my tips with the planning office, some things that you can do for free before you commit yourself to any money that might save you a lot of time and stress. If that's been of any interest to you, please leave a quick comment after this podcast. Thanks for listening.